Tonight, Pauline Hanson is closer to pulling off victory for the last seat in the New South Wales Upper House. 91% apparently of the vote has been counted and Ms Hanson is ahead. We should finally know the outcome by late tomorrow morning when it goes to preferences in the very tight contest with the Greens for that position. And I'm joined now by a man who understands the intricacies of counting in these Upper House ballots. Glenn Druery is a political lobbyist and has expertise in independents and minority parties getting elected to parliaments. Glenn Druery, welcome. Now, what is your thinking on will Pauline Hanson win this last seat in the Upper House in New South Wales?
Look, she's got a very, very good chance. The media are quoting as 6,000 primary votes ahead at this stage, but in fact that's not quite right. You've got to look at the below the line votes and what's going on there, and she's well over 13,000 ahead as we sit here right now.
So she's 13,000 votes ahead, and that's the primary votes.
That's correct. Now that's she's ahead of the Greens' third candidate. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, the big computer button will be pushed, and all of the preferences and everything else that's been put into that computer will be spat out the other end, and about an hour later we'll know.
Okay, so before we get to that, she hasn't got a quota in her own right for the Upper House seat, which, as I understand it, it's about 4.5% of the vote. So what, you think she's got about half that quota?
She's sitting on just over 0.5 of a quota, or around 100,000 primary votes. Now, it has been...
0.5 of a quota, it's about 2% of the whole vote.
That's correct.
Right. Okay, so that's about 100,000 votes.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
All right. But she still might get up, because that sounds like a small amount.
Well, it may sound that way, but the system that we have allows the last candidate, in fact, perhaps even the last two or even three candidates, given the right circumstances, to get in on 2% or even less. John Tingle was elected in 2003 on under 2%. So Pauline Hanson is right on the money for getting elected tomorrow.
All right, so does that mean, or what does that mean about how big a vote Pauline Hanson has pulled below the line?
I think we'll find when the analysis is done that this could well be, in percentage terms, one of the biggest below-the-line votes ever. Well, certainly since the reforms have happened in the New South Wales Upper House, which was September 1999. I had a brief look and a brief talk to some scrutineers late last week, and Pauline Hanson, in percentage terms, was pulling more below-the-line votes than either of the major parties or the Greens.
So does that mean that people actually sort of made a beeline for her name?
Yes, they did. Without getting too technical about it, Pauline Hanson doesn't have a political party, so she's what's known as a grouped independent. Now that means she doesn't have a name above the thick black line, it's simply her name below the line. So people have made a beeline, right, for that Pauline Hanson, and they've voted for her in huge numbers.
All right, now you say tomorrow she's not there yet. You say she is there actually on primary votes, but tomorrow they're going to count the preferences. So once they do that, it's thought that the Greens could leapfrog ahead of her?
It's a possibility. It's really going to be a photo finish between Pauline Hanson and the Greens' third candidate. Now, we've got Pauline Hanson sitting on 0.5 of a quota. The Greens are sitting on about 0.42, 0.43. But the Labor Party is sitting on about 0.27. Now, those votes have to dump on the Greens to put them ahead of Pauline Hanson. And traditionally, 10, 15, perhaps 20% of those votes flow. So, it's going to be very, very close.
So we'll see tomorrow.
Well, I had a chat with the Hanson camp this afternoon, and they said that they're not opening the champagne, but it is on ice.
So they've ordered it, it's on ice, they're feeling very confident.
They are feeling very confident, and I said, well, what's next? What's going to happen? And they said be prepared for a very controversial maiden speech if she gets up.
Whoa, okay, well, we'll leave it there. Glenn Druery, thank you so much for coming on and explaining that latest information for us.